Amandla! Amandla! Viva ANC, viva! Viva ANC, viva! Viva SACP, viva! Viva SACP, viva! Viva COSATU, viva! Viva SANCO, viva! Viva ANC Youth League, viva! Roar, young lions, roar! Roar, young lions, roar! Viva Women's League, viva! Amandla! Ndimasiari, Inhlekani, Molweni, Sanbonani, Goeiemiddag, good afternoon. Yo. Oh, Inhlekani, Anihleki. Comrades, Comrade Chairperson, NTT Convener, Comrade Fikile Mbalula, NTT Coordinator, Comrade Nathi Mthethwa, members of the National Task Team, Deputy Secretary General of the African National Congress, Comrade Jesse Duarte, the Treasurer General of the mighty, glorious African National Congress, who handles all the monies of the African National Congress. Dr. Zweli Mkhize, members of the National Executive Committee of the African National Congress, the leaders of the Alliance who are here, the leadership of the Progressive Youth Alliance, Comrade Andrew Mlangeni Isithwalandwe, one of our outstanding leaders, the leaders of the NYDA who are here, the leaders of COSAS, of SASCO, and the YCL. Distinguished guests, particularly those guests who have come to attend this conference representing other fraternal organizations from other countries like Zimbabwe and a number of other countries. We applaud you, we greet you, and we welcome you to this conference. On behalf of President Jacob Zuma and the entire National Executive Committee of the African National Congress, I convey revolutionary greetings to all of you and wish you well as you hold your Congress. I also convey to the membership of the Youth League our profound appreciation for the painstaking effort that you've been involved in holding this conference or making it possible. We applaud the Youth League for undertaking this challenging task of rebuilding, revitalizing, and uniting the ANC Youth League, an ANC Youth League which has such a glorious history, an ANC Youth League which has such a great pedigree. We also want to thank comrades who were asked by the National Executive Committee to be part of the National Task Team to undertake this task of convening this conference, of helping to unite the Youth League. They face enormous challenges, but today we want to applaud them for the excellent job they have done, because they have truly delivered on the mandate they were given. I also wish to thank the comrades who preceded their effort, who were members of the NTT, who also did an excellent job and prepared the ANC Youth League for a conference which was later transformed into a policy conference. Let us also applaud them, because they crisscrossed the length and the breadth of this country preparing for this moment. The holding, comrades, the holding of this Congress is a huge milestone. It is a huge achievement. We want to congratulate you for your perseverance. You all indeed faced many obstacles along the way to arriving here at Gallagher Estate. Some of the obstacles were internal, and yet some were also external. You also faced court challenges that were aimed at stopping your march to renewing the soul and the fiber of the ANC Youth League. There were those who felt that this Congress should not proceed and rushed to courts to stop you from having this great historic moment with destiny, where you are going to renew the Youth League. Court challenges to democratic organizational processes have now become a new tendency in our organization. They are creeping in, and they form the danger of having the ANC being run by the courts. They want to reduce your glorious movement from being an organization whose organizational programs, whose mandate will now be determined by the courts. We cannot allow our ANC to be controlled and to be run by the courts. We are a democratic organization that is regulated by our constitution, a constitution that is based on democratic values and ethical conduct. Those who rush to courts clearly do not love the African National Congress. Those who rush to courts clearly love themselves more than they love the African National Congress. We applaud you for your discipline, we applaud you for your commitment, and we applaud you for your patience. You have been patient, and this is the moment you have all been waiting for. It is now here. That moment has arrived. This process of rebuilding the ANC Youth League has provided many valuable lessons, both for the ANC Youth League itself and the mother body, the ANC itself. There are valuable lessons that we have learned, and we must acknowledge and understand that if we are to build a stronger, more coherent national liberation movement, we need to heed the lessons that we have learned. And some of those lessons, comrades, are whenever we see signs of indiscipline in our structures, we are required to act immediately and not wait. Whenever we see deviant behavior that militates against the values of the African National Congress, we are required to act immediately and stop those actions. If we do not do so, the ANC will be up for grabs by anybody who wants to grab it and take it in any direction that they want to. The 25th National Congress of the ANC Youth League takes place at a crucial moment in our country's history. It takes place when the economic fortunes of our country are not as great as we want them to be. It takes place when unemployment continues to rise, but particularly amongst young people. It takes place when inequality is increasing and poverty is also widening. It also takes place when the whole world is undergoing enormous economic challenges. We have won the political freedom for which so many of our people fought and sacrificed. Now we are all called upon to enter a new phase of struggle in which all our efforts, all our resources, and all our energies are directed towards the achievement of economic emancipation. What we achieved in 1994 was just a breakthrough. It was a breakthrough in that it gave us an opportunity, particularly to the African National Congress, to continue prosecuting the struggle on a number of fronts, knowing that our victory is even much more certain. As we have done before at critical moments in our history, we once again look to the youth to lead the struggle that we are now going to get engaged in, the economic struggle, so that we can have economic freedom within our lifetime, an economic freedom which will be delivered by the young people of our country, and that's what you represent. We look to this Congress to provide direction and to provide the necessary impetus. We look to you, comrades, to enrich our understanding of radical economic transformation and to advance policies that will free our young people from a life of want and indignity. Young people, therefore, must be centrally involved in this new struggle. Young people must therefore also be involved in the implementation of the National Development Plan, as well as the ANC's 53 conference resolutions, as well as the ANC's 2014 election manifesto. We must commend the ANC youth for the role it has played in helping to shape the mandate of this ANC administration and government. Thanks to your efforts, this administration that is ably led by our President Jacob Gedleyihlekisa Zuma has a clear program to tackle youth unemployment. You have ensured that our government does have a clear program through which we can tackle youth unemployment. Thanks to your efforts, this government has committed to set aside 60% of jobs or new infrastructure programs or projects to young people. Thanks to your effort, we have a target to provide work opportunities through the Public Works Program to 4 million young people over the next 5 years. These are victories that you have achieved. In case you did not know, it was through your representatives that you were able, at the ANC conference, to insist that the program of empowering young people is put at the center of what the ANC does. Now we need to work together to ensure that these commitments are realized and that young people become active participants in the economy of our country. There is a great potential in the fact that most of our working age is a population of young people. We have a significant opportunity to harness the energy, the innovation, the creativity, and the vibrancy of young people in pursuit of a sustainable economic growth. Education and skills development must stand at the center of our efforts. The Youth League needs to mobilize young people to take advantage of the many learning and training opportunities that are being made available. As the President travels to various countries in the world, he is offered training opportunities for young people. As a number of other colleagues in the executive travel to a number of countries, we are continuously offered a number of training opportunities. These are opportunities that the ANC Youth League must make sure that they are taken up by young people. These are opportunities that the ANC Youth League must keep on its radar screen to make sure that the young people in our country take them up on an ongoing basis. To go and study overseas, yes. To go and acquire skills, yes. To come back and contribute to the growth of our country. That is a task that the ANC Youth League must take up with great enthusiasm. The ANC Youth League needs to be at the forefront of struggles for better funding for education. The ANC Youth League is the one that must be leading the campaign for the increase of better funding for young people, for education in TVET colleges and universities. That must be your task as the ANC Youth League. This is the youth that will lead our knowledge economy. This is the youth that is fascinated by scientific innovation and its use in the enhancement of our lives. This is a youth league that should attract highly educated young men and women. It should attract entrepreneurs. It should attract aspirant industrialists within its ranks. And yes, it must also attract the male nurse who delivered an ANC baby yesterday. That is the youth league that we must become. It must become a youth league that is deeply immersed in all the drivers that are going to deliver economic emancipation for our people. That is the type of youth league that we want. It is a youth league that values knowledge, a youth league that celebrates innovation. Comrades, the ANC Youth League needs to unite the youth of our country. It needs to work day and night, uniting the young people of our country. Young people of this country are hungry for leadership. They are hungry for ideas. They want a home. Only the ANC Youth League can provide them with that leadership and a home. There is no other organization that can provide young people with the type of hope that can give them hope. Just as the African National Congress is the only organization that can give our people hope, that has always given our people hope, and that has given them a better future. So the ANC Youth League must be a home of young people. A home of young people is a place that is welcoming. It is a place that is warm. It is a place that is filled with comfort. It is a place that is filled with history, with ideas. That is what the ANC Youth League must become once again. It must work to build the South Africa envisaged by the late President Oliver Tambo when he said, "The doors of learning and of culture shall be open to all. A South Africa in which the young of our country shall have the best that mankind has produced, in which they shall be taught to love the people of all races, to defend the equality of the people, to honor creative labor, to uphold the oneness of mankind, and to hate untruths, immorality, and avarice." I want to repeat. President Oliver Tambo said, "The doors of learning and of culture shall be open to all. A South Africa in which the young of our country shall have the best that mankind has produced, in which they shall be taught to love the people of all races, to defend the equality of the people, to honor creative labor, to uphold the oneness of mankind, and to hate untruths, immorality, and avarice." We now live in an era where a lot of untruths are told by all and sundry. And the ANC Youth League must make sure that untruths are banned from the lexicon of the ANC political language. We must stick to the truth. We must stick to what is true at all times. It is the responsibility of the Youth League to break down barriers of division and create a country where there will be neither whites nor blacks, just South Africans, free and united in diversity. It needs to occupy all spaces in our society. There must be no space that is left unoccupied by the ANC Youth League. There must be no place where the ANC Youth League is not present. The ANC Youth League must have wall-to-wall presence throughout the length and the breadth of our country. As people turn around a corner, they must know that the ANC Youth League is present, just as the African National Congress is present throughout the country. The Youth League must make itself attractive to young people. It must become their magnet. We must be able to be the light that is shining and attract the moths, all the insects that fly. They must come to the light. The ANC Youth League must be seen as the light to young people in our country. It needs to be present in places of learning, in factories, and on farms. It must be on the radio, it must be on Twitter, it must be on Facebook, it must be in thousands of discussions groups across the country. It must engage in the battle of ideas. Comrades, this is probably one of the most important areas where the Youth League needs to make its presence felt. The ANC Youth League must be the defender of the African National Congress at all costs, at all times, wherever the African National Congress is attacked. We must know that we have a line of defense, and that line of defense, the first line, the second line, the last line, is the African National Congress Youth League. That must be the role of the Youth League. But it must be a Youth League that must engage in the battle of ideas. We must see that the ANC Youth League engages with those who hate the ANC. It must engage with those who want the ANC to fail. It must engage with those who want to defeat the ANC. It must engage with those who insult the ANC, those who called our leaders names, those who degrade the name of our president must be engaged by the ANC Youth League. The ANC Youth League, comrades, must build alliances. It must be an organization that develops expertise in building alliances. During the Defiance campaign, the leaders of the ANC Youth League were the key leaders of that Defiance campaign. Our movement was able to lead our people in defiance in the 50s, largely because the ANC Youth League built alliances with a plethora of organizations to make sure that the Defiance campaign was a successful one. So therefore, the ANC Youth League must build formations, must build alliances with other formations that have shared values and common developmental objectives. We must do everything possible to ensure that never again in South Africa will opportunities that are offered to young people be defined by race, ethnicity, gender, class, or religion. The scourge of racism still continues to define the lives of many institutions in our country. Many institutions continue to resist transformation. Many give lip service to the transformation imperative. Unfortunately, many of such institutions are also institutions of higher learning. These are institutions that are supposed to be the repository of knowledge and progressive thinking. We continue to hear how black young people continue to be discriminated against at a number of universities in our country. We continue to hear worrying tales and accounts of how black young people are treated in the most racist ways, are subjected to racist practices that manifest themselves in a number of ways. We must state unequivocally that there is no place for racism in institutions of higher learning in South Africa. Those who still believe that apartheid can have a safe haven in a number of institutions must immediately know that apartheid has no place in South Africa anymore. We will not tolerate such activities. Apartheid was defeated in 1994. The ANC Youth League, working together with other formations, such as SASCO, has a responsibility, like the youth of 1976. Like the youth of 1976, that youth of 1976 resisted the imposition of Afrikaans on education and on young people in schools. They resisted it quite effectively. The ANC Youth League, working with SASCO and COSAS in various places, needs to lead the charge and make sure that our institutions are free of any form of racism. We need to lead the charge and expose racism. We need to lead the charge to ensure that those institutions conform to the values of our Constitution of non-racism. This is what the ANC Youth League also needs to get involved in. Our Youth League, yes, must be militant. We want a militant ANC Youth League. In case you have forgotten what the word militant means, we want a militant ANC Youth League. That is what the ANC expects. But it must be a militant ANC Youth League without being undisciplined. It must be an ANC Youth League that must be robust, that must be militant, but that must be disciplined. It must use its infinite energy to have fun without being frivolous. It must leverage the power of social media to influence rather than to insult or to inflame, to empower rather than to insult, to share rather than to shock. Like the Youth League that conceptualized and led the Defiance campaign, the ANC Youth League of today must not lose its imagination. It must not lose its mass appeal. It must not lose its force of persuasion. We do not persuade people by force. We do not persuade people by throwing stones. We do not persuade people by acting in a disorderly fashion. We persuade people through our argument, the weight and content and substance of our argument. That is what the ANC Youth League has always been good at. Comrades, the ANC Youth League is the parliament of young people of South Africa. You are the parliament of the youth of our country. It is out of this parliament that the youth of our country want to feel hopeful. It is out of your parliament that the youth of our people, of our country, want to know that you are going to come up with ideas that are going to improve their lives. It is where they share their aspirations, express their views, and craft programs that will advance their common interests. The ANC Youth League belongs to the youth of our country, and it belongs to the people of our country. It is not a vehicle for self-enrichment. It is not a vehicle for patronage. It is not a vehicle for self-aggrandizement. It is not a vehicle for enrichment, comrades. It is not an ANC Youth League that is on sale. This ANC Youth League is not on sale to anybody. It is an ANC Youth League. If you have any idea to buy the ANC Youth League, I have to tell you, it does not come cheap. This ANC Youth League is not cheap. So, the tendencies that are creeping in, where money is being used where money is being used to buy young people must come to an end. We must obliterate them. We must obliterate them from the culture of the ANC Youth League. The ANC Youth League is a weighty organization. It is an organization which was formed by the giants of our movement. And when they formed it, they never thought that it would ever go on sale. They never thought that there would be a discount sale written on the window for the ANC Youth League. They never had that in mind. When we voluntarily join the movement, we take a vow that we do so without motives of material advantage or personal gain. That is a vow that all of us who join the African National Congress have to take. We commit to place our energies and our skills at the disposal of the organization and carry out its tasks. We take an oath pledging that we will defend the unity and the integrity of the organization and its principles, and combat any tendency towards disruption or factionalism. That is the oath that we take. We literally take an oath saying we will not get involved in any form of factionalism, that we will abide by the tenets of our Constitution. We therefore look to members of the ANC Youth League to provide leadership even in this area, to earn respect and to set an example. As we rebuild this ANC Youth League, we would like to see a membership of the ANC Youth League that sets the best example for all to behold. An example that says it is in the ANC Youth League that you will find people who are at their best behavior. It was the president of the ANC Youth League, the first president, Anton Lembede, who told the young people of his day that we are not called to peace, comfort, or enjoyment. We are called to hard work. We are called to struggle. We are called to sweat. We need young men and women of high moral stamina and integrity, of courage and vision. In short, we need warriors. This means that we have to develop a new type of youth of stoical discipline, trained to endure suffering and difficulties. It is only this type of youth that will achieve the national liberation of the African people. This was said, comrades, in the 40s by the first president of the ANC Youth League, Comrade Anton Lembede. This is precisely the type of young people who we must find in the ranks of the ANC Youth League today. Young men and women of high moral stamina and integrity. Young men and women of courage and vision. Young men and women who are disciplined. We must find young men and women who are deeply immersed in the politics of our movement. This we will achieve if the young people who are in the ANC Youth League spend more of their time in the political school of the African National Congress, spend more of their time involved in political education, then we will find this type of young person. If you do not spend time in the political school of our movement, you will not have the ability to have the type of stamina and integrity that Anton Lembede was talking about. If you do not spend time involving yourself in the political education life of our movement, you will not be the type of young person who Anton Lembede was describing. We must find young men and women who are steeped in their understanding of the political economy of our country as well, who are steeped in understanding the history of our country, who are well steeped in also understanding the history of our continent, yes, indeed, and the history of our world. These are the warriors that we need for our age. This is what Anton Lembede was talking about. These are young people who must love reading. These are young people who must love debate. These are young people who must love discussions. These are young people who we will find at the political schools. They must know the glorious history of their movement. They must know the history of the membership and the leadership of this movement. Comrades, as we ponder, as all of you ponder, who should lead the ANC Youth League going forward, as this issue preoccupies your thinking, and we know that in some cases it is foremost in your minds, as you ponder this, cast your eyes back and remember the caliber of leaders who have preceded the leaders that you are going to have an opportunity to choose today. You are an organization that has had the best fortune to have been led by some of the giants of our movement. Leaders such as Anton Lembede, Nelson Mandela, Oliver Tambo, Walter Sisulu, and many others have led your youth league. They would have been sitting here as well, leading this glorious youth league of the African National Congress. So therefore, the leaders that you are going to choose today, tomorrow, should be the type of leaders who you should put up a mirror and say, do they measure up to the Anton Lembedes, to the Nelson Mandelas, to the Walter Sisulus, to the Oliver Tambo of old? Do they even begin to equate to those leaders that our movement has known? You are fortunate because the giants of our movement once led this ANC Youth League. You are therefore walking in the footsteps of giants. You are standing on the shoulders of gigantic leaders of our movement. You are therefore called upon to choose wisely as you ponder the issue of choosing your leaders. Those leaders of old were motivated by one thing and one thing only, to be servants of our people. We should ask ourselves whether the leaders we are going to choose are also going to be the type who will say, all we ever want to do is to serve our people. This Congress must therefore send a clear message and a resounding message to the youth of South Africa. It must say with confidence, but with humility, that this is our time as the youth of the African National Congress has arrived. This is the message you must send out as you rise from this Congress. You must say, this is now our time. We have been given the baton of leadership. We have been given the baton of coming up with ideas. We have been given the responsibility of sharpening the full meaning of what economic transformation means. We've been given the baton of taking this movement to a higher level and to the greatest level. This, comrades, is your century. This is your decade. This decade has been handed to you by your forebears, by the leaders who have come before you. Utilize this great opportunity, but start by utilizing it here in this conference, by making sure that the decisions you take, the policies that you adopt, are the types of policies that are going to take our movement forward. This is your moment. This is your movement. Take it forward in your hands and lead South Africa, lead the youth of this country forward. It is now in your hands. Take this movement forward. Thank you very much.